Big news, big news, big news. If you are a New York Mets fan, or if you're an Atlanta Braves fan, or a Philadelphia Phillies fan, or even crosstown rivals New York Yankees, the New York Mets have a playoff caliber team after what they just did. Steve Cohen, props to him. David Stearns, props to him. John Heyman of the New York Post comes out and reports New York Mets given the six-time All-Star JD Martinez, who's coming off of three consecutive All-Star appearances. JD Martinez, the guy who went 271 last year, hit over 30 bombs, over 100 RBIs. He's joining the lineup. He's joining the lineup with Pete Alonso, who hit 40-plus home runs in his worst year last year. 30-30 guy in Lindor. So now we got three guys, three legitimate all-star power bats in the middle of the lineup. That's a playoff lineup right there. The rotation, obviously, it has question marks, but offensive-wise, I'm going to steal the words of the Jingle Man himself. With JD Martinez, this offense, it's a threat, man. So shout out to him, by the way. If you haven't seen that, go check out my Twitter. I reposted it. He's always got some great tunes. So, yeah, if you want some good man, the Jingle Man, he knows what he's talking about. He said it himself. So, yeah, man, we got JD Martinez sitting in the middle of this lineup now. And think about it. Think about it. Lindor at 3, Alonso at 4, JD Martinez at 5. That's pretty good. And then also factor in the fact that Francisco Alvarez still might have more power than all of these guys. He was the number one prospect in baseball a few seasons ago. He is a guy who had 25 home runs in his rookie seasons. Now, obviously, the batting average needs to come up. But there's no doubt in my mind that Francisco Alvarez can be the fourth guy in that Mets lineup who can hit 30-plus home runs. And then Brandon Nimmo, too. He's not too shabby. He just had a career high in home runs last year. He hit, 24? So the Mets now have more power in their lineup than they've had in a long, long, long time. I could say really since 2015 when they had Curtis Granderson, Yoenis Cespedes, and Daniel Murphy. And even then, Daniel Murphy wasn't the power bat he once turned into. The power that the New York Mets have in 2024 is eye-popping, dude. My eyes are popping right now because I'm excited. JD Martinez, Lindor, and Alonso, 3 legitimate all-star power bats. Francisco Alvarez, he might join them. Brandon Nimmo, second best left fielder in baseball, not because of his defense, because of his offense. Jeff McNeil, former batting champion. Now, yes, last year he sucked, needs to bounce back, but he very well could. We've seen him do it before. Only 2 seasons throughout his entire 7-year career or 6-year career has Jeff McNeil hit below 300. So I have faith in Jeff McNeil. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. I have a lot of faith in this Mets team. I have a lot of faith in this Mets lineup. Now, like I said before, rotation still has a long way to come. But Kodai Senga, when he does come back, we will have an ace. Christian Scott, he turned a lot of heads, even my head. I wasn't too high on Christian Scott, I'll admit it. I wasn't too high on Christian Scott earlier on in the spring training. I was like, let's not buy into the hype of this guy. And then after his last start, 4 innings, 7 Ks, only 2 hits allowed, Christian Scott's got it. So this Mets team, David Stearns, Steve Cohen, as much as I want to say, especially earlier on in the offseason when we missed out on Yoshinobu Yamamoto and we missed out on really everybody that we thought we were going to be in on, we just weren't. We weren't. Let's be real. And thank God we missed out on Yamamoto because if you didn't see today, that guy got rocked. 1 inning, $325 million for 1 inning. And now he is only 25 years old, so he has a long way to come. But that's besides the fact. We're talking Mets right now. JD Martinez to the Mets. Playoff caliber lineup. Anybody watching right now, if you want to drop in the comments, what do you think this does for the New York Mets? Does it make them a playoff team? Even with the question mark rotation? Because let's be real. A lot of people are writing this team off just because they let go of guys like Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. But in reality, the Mets still got a pretty good core. Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, Edwin Diaz. And then who else do we got? Kodai Senga, obviously, too. When he comes back, he's a part of that core. Francisco Alvarez, I think he's going to become part of that core. Now, JD Martinez is not a part of that core, but the core that I just mentioned, they're in win now mode. They're not in Christian Scott mode in a few years or Louis Angel Acuna mode or Drew Gilbert. No, Pete Alonso, Lindor, Alvarez, Diaz, McNeil, Nimmo, even Starlin Marte, I could say, they want to win right now. Now, obviously, in 2025 and 2026 and down the road, I want to be a contending team, but I want to win right now. I want to win this year. You know, when Steve Cohen bought the team, a lot of people bought onto the 3 to 5 year mandate. No, be realistic. It's very hard to win a World Series. But at the same time, one thing he did promise Mets fans, we're always gonna be competitive. And quite frankly, the past 3 years, we shot for the fences. This year, we're competitive. And then in a few years, we're probably going to swing for the fences again. So with Steve Cohen, like, he's a great owner. And that, yep, Giancarlo, I completely agree with you. Mark Vientos, that is the end of the road for him. He had a terrible, terrible spring training. And to be quite honest, there's things, even in, like, I wrote a fan-sided article about it a few days ago about Mark Vientos being a guy that could potentially break out for the Mets. And it was hard. It was hard writing that. Like, I had to pull some stats out of my rear end because, I mean, quite frankly, when you look at his numbers, he's gotten an opportunity in the major leagues twice now. And he played in over 65 games last year. And yeah, he hit 9 home runs, but the OPS was well below 700. He's a power hitting guy that can't hit for power at the major league level. Now, yes, when he goes down to the AAA, he rakes. He looks like a future MVP talent, but he's been at the big league level. He's gotten an opportunity, and he just hasn't taken that opportunity and ran with it. And the same thing can be said for Brett Baty as well. Now, Brett Baty has kind of had a late surge in spring training, and we do need a third baseman. So he kind of got lucky, but he's on a short leash. Brett Baty is on a short leash, but that's huge. Going out there and, you know, our fan base, the Mets fan base, has acknowledged it. Acknowledged it. Just like people acknowledge Roman Reigns, we acknowledge the fact that the Mets desperately need a DH. They cannot go into 2024 without one. Banking on Mark Vientos was something that I was starting to wrap my head around, but I couldn't. And I think a lot of Mets fans can say the same thing. It was hope. Like Steve Cohen said, hope is not a strategy. We can't hope for Mark Vientos to be a 30 home run guy and this next DH for the Mets. No, we just can't. But as I said before, even though we want to focus on the future, even though David Stearns wants to build up this farm systems, even though Steve Cohen wants to bring in guys like Louis Angel Acuna, Drew Gilbert, Christian Scott, who was drafted by the Mets, but he wants to build up this farm system. But at the same time, what did both of them inherit? Well, Cohen got Lindor, but what did Stearns inherit? He inherited Pete Alonso, ready to win now. Francisco Lindor, ready to win now. Now JD Martinez, who's ready to win now. Jeff McNeil, ready to win now. Starlin Marte, as much as a lot of Mets fans might hate him, when he's healthy, he's pretty good. So he's ready to win now. Brandon Nimmo, Edwin Diaz coming back. This team has they could sneak into the wild card spot. And like Pete Alonso said earlier in spring training, you get into the dance and anything can happen. I'm not saying this is a World Series roster, but what I am saying, going out there and getting JD Martinez makes them a playoff caliber team. And that's it. That's it. 271, 33 home runs, 103 RBIs. Pete Alonso is a walking 40 home run and 115 plus RBI guy. Francisco Lindor, arguably his best year of his career last year, 30-30. So now you got 3 guys. Well, one guy who hits 40 plus, maybe 45 plus. So Diamond Tails on Twitter told me he's going to go 50 plus. And I can't say no. He might. He did 50 plus his rookie year. So Pete Alonso, 40 plus guy. We got Martinez and Lindor, 30 plus home runs. Francisco Alvarez, 25 plus home runs, maybe even 30. He could join the 30 club this year, starting up at the big leagues for the first time in his career. You also got Brandon Nimmo, who's starting to get some pop in that bat. This team is good. This lineup is really good. It's looking good. Peter says, no way. Yes way. Yes way. We got JD Martinez. What's up, Pete? I'm hyped for it. I'm hyped for it, especially when the crosstown rivals got guys like Giancarlo Stanton hitting 3 home runs in 4 innings, and Juan Soto hitting balls over the scoreboard in spring training, and Aaron Judge. I mean, when he's healthy, he's the best hitter in baseball. And now the Mets, what do? Obviously, we're not a World Series contender, but any team that gets into the playoffs is a World Series contender. And the Mets just went out there and put together a playoff caliber team. That's it. That's all I got for you. And I'm exhausted. I got work at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Mets signed the 6-time All-Star JD Martinez, $12 million, 1 year. Drop in the comments what you think about it. Drop in the comments if you think the Mets will get a wild card spot or if they're just going to fall flat on their faces and be the same old Mets. All right. See you guys. And I'll see JD Martinez at Citi Fields this season. Let's go.